let's talk about one of my favourite long throw projectors on the market, the JMGO N1S Pro. This 4K triple laser projector offers some incredible value and flexibility that many options just don't have, and it comes with a few absolute killer features that you're going to fall in love with almost straight out of the box. Now, I had seen these guys in passing before, but I was mostly introduced to the JMGO range back at IFA 2024, where we covered some of their newest releases, and where I also got their name incredibly wrong.
JMGO, 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 JMGO.
I was told afterwards by a commenter that their name is not JMGO, but actually JMGO. Anyway, I got the chance to take a look at some of their unreleased products too, and you can take a look at that episode at the links below if you want to see it. But their core range caught my eye for the rather unique designs. They all seem to follow the same design aesthetic, and what an aesthetic it is. Honestly, the N1S Pro has this semi-rounded cube shape, and there's something very appealing about it that transcends my ability to explain why it's appealing. Probably witchcraft if I was to hazard a guess. But this homely, friendly design fits really nice into the home environment and almost looks like a work of art in its own right. It's just so well designed and refined down to every last oxymoron rounded square edge. But the funny thing is, the thought that's gone into the design of the product has actually also gone into the packaging that it comes with as well. The polystyrene type case serves its purpose in protecting it whilst it's in transit to your house, but it's also reusable with its locking system and carry handle. And to me, that's a very clever design choice because it saves JMGO cost by not needing any extra packaging for shipping, whilst also giving consumers a free carry case. Gold star sticker on here alone, but that's just a little side point. The shape and packaging designs, of course, isn't the best bit about its design. The thing that I love the most is this, the gimbal-like stand. Too often do projectors come without any form of stand, and too often, if you're relying it to stand on a shelf or a table, then you end up resorting to using some cheap nasty thing from Amazon.com that takes a million years to get positioned correctly. Now, these gimbal stands that come with the JMGO range are so much better than any third-party option, I can promise you that. They're just so well integrated that they just can't be beaten for the flexibility and ease of use. You've got the ability to change the angle of the projector up and down, and then it also has a weighted plate on the underneath which allows it to spin an entire 360 degrees on its axis. Now, interestingly, the gimbal allows a complete vertical incline, so you can do things like project directly onto the ceiling, which is handy if the roof is the only free space that you've got, or you want to lie on your back and watch a film. But the movement of the projector on the gimbal feels smooth, and the projector balances perfectly as to sort of stay in the position that you put it in. And it's this gimbal paired up with the software and hardware that makes, or ends up being, this projector's secret sauce. Because on the front of the projector, you'll see a bunch of sensors just here, which automatically take readings of the environment that you're projecting onto. Firstly, these sensors work out the autofocus and auto keystone to correct the image to the right shape and size, and it can even adjust the size of the image to avoid projecting onto objects that might be in the way, like a plant pot, for example, all of which goes hand in hand with this gimbal. Now, it's not that this is a particularly new feature. Many brands function in a similar way, but with the addition of the gimbal, it just makes much more sense, and the micro adjustments that you make to both the vertical and horizontal axis are quickly corrected on the image that it's projecting. But this auto adaptation goes much further than just the angle and the focus of the projection. It'll also adapt its brightness, which again is, I guess, a pretty standard functionality, but something that isn't standard, and something that's far more interesting, is that this will auto-adapt its colour profile depending on the colour tone of the wall that you're projecting on. Now, this is a very clever idea. It's almost like having a white balance for your projector, and it means that in theory, if you're projecting onto a naked wall, it doesn't matter whether you're projecting onto eggshell white or magnolia white, you'll always have a more accurate and true to source image than with other projectors. That's if you're not projecting onto an actual screen, that is. And this is something certainly that sets this projector apart. Maybe you guys watching this have come across this particular feature before, but of the many projectors that I've tried, this is the first one that has ever come with this almost white balance feature. And you can't argue with the fact that that isn't a feature that makes complete sense, especially, again, for people who aren't projecting onto screens. So I'd expect to see that in more projectors over the coming years. And as for the quality of the projection, it's very clear that JMGO have some of the best picture quality in the industry. The N1S Pro has a 4K image, which is projected using their triple laser light source, which results in an utterly stunning, bright and vivid picture with excellent contrast all around, hitting a maximum brightness of 2,400 ANSI lumens. Now, to make sure that you're not about to blind yourself or your children or your dog, JMGO have actually built in eye protection. So in theory, if someone walks in front of the projector, it would immediately shut off and ask you to hit resume on controller before it starts playing the full picture again. And of course, I needed to test just how quick this was and see how much blinding it will actually do. So I asked my #1 employee, who never questions anything I ask him to do, to try and blind himself. Are you ready to blind yourself? 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, look at that! Go. The projector stopped projecting in a blinding, no pun intended, 1.06 seconds, which is incredible. Oh, look at that! Now, something else about the projection quality is that it's got something called MEMC, or MEMC, which is basically a form of motion processing where it takes 2 frames either side and generates additional frames in between as an almost transition between the two. And what this results in is overall a sharper, quicker image, which is great for things like sport and potentially even gaming. But some people argue that when using it with things like films, it can often ruin the intended experience that the director has set. So it's very much a Marmite feature. Some people love it, some people don't, but thankfully you can change this feature on or off in the settings. For me, I do actually do what I said. If I'm watching things like sports, I find this feature quite good at making everything generally a bit sharper and clearer. But if I'm watching a film, this feature gets turned straight off so I can enjoy the film as it was intended by the director. But either way, the laser light source at 4K will blow you away, MEMC or not. And it's because of this light source and quality that JMGO rate this as being capable of projecting up to 180 inches, which is still a decent quality, meaning you can very well use this as both an indoor setup and then take out and use it as a full-on outdoor cinema. The thing is, with its adjustability, both the gimbal and quick auto adaptation, it makes it ideal for this flexibility of being able to use it perhaps in a more permanent position in the home, but also as a mobile one too, especially with the carry case as well. There's just no messing about with tripods or stands because it's got a gimbal, or even need for any separate speakers because it has built-in speakers. And actually that's another thing that I'm a massive fan of on the N1S Pro, the sound. For such a small device, packing such a quality picture, the sound will absolutely blow you away. It's obviously not a replacement for a proper full-on cinema sound setup, but it's got to be among the best integrated speakers on a projector that I've tried so far. But if the sound isn't quite good enough for you and you want to essentially wake the next village over whilst watching Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone for the 18th time in a row, then fortunately on the back there's 3.5mm output and HDMI eARC port for things like soundbars along with regular HDMI and USB 2. Now, there are a couple of other interesting hardware specs as well with this, such as the fact it has Bluetooth 5 and Wi-Fi 6. And having Wi-Fi 6 on a projector like this is actually a rarity at the moment. Maybe we'll start seeing more in the near future, but it's good to see at least JMGO are thinking forward with this and putting in a technology that ultimately helps create a faster streaming and connectivity experience. Now let's talk about the cost, because this could be a sticking point. Now the price of the N1S Pro comes to a total RRP of $1,999. Although I believe that you can get this for around $1,600 direct from JMGO, which I'll link below. But this equates to about 1,200 of the King's pounds. Now, that is a little pricey, but I genuinely think that it's worth that price for the quality that you're getting. Comparatively to others in the same sort of spec bracket, we're looking at laser and 4K, is pretty much on the line. Maybe even a bit under, to be fair. And when you consider the quality of it, I actually think that it's potentially got a lot better value. Thing is though, the features I love the most about the N1S Pro, such as the adaptability and design language and the gimbal, aren't necessarily limited to the N1S Pro. So if you wanted to dip your toes into JMGO's projectors at a lower price point, then you could go for the 1080p N1S. That'd be a good place to start. But overall, I really love the JMGO range of projectors, and the N1S Pro is a really awesome little projector. A little in size, but not little in deliverables. It's hard not to see that this form factor is actually way smaller than it should be. Given the level of brightness and the sound that comes out of it, it's actually a phenomenal technical feat of engineering. So I think that if you're looking for a high-end projector with ultimate adaptability and form factor, which essentially lets it be used as both a permanent or mobile setup, then this is absolutely a fantastic contender. And with that included gimbal system, it could arguably be the best for the latter. Sure, it's quite pricey, but you really do get what you pay for. And JMGO have some absolutely gold standard design and technology that I think are worth the price. What do you think of the JMGO lineup? A projector worth getting? Or does the price put you off? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the JMGO N1S Pro. And if you've got one yourself, do let us know your experience. And if today's episode has helped you out at all, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe button to return the favour. And I'll see you guys back for another episode of STU'S Reviews soon.